Welcome to Fun and Games Side Quests. Every episode is a different host sharing a video game they love and why they love it.
Hey everyone, I'm Jose, or better known on the internet as the Seth Rokage. I'm a content creator that does basically everything from streaming, podcasting, video essays, writing news, and a little bit of everything here and there. You can find everything that I do on the internet pretty easily just by Googling my name, the Seth Rokage, which has never been used on the internet before I kind of laid claim to it, so my SEO game is pretty strong on Google. I don't know about Bing, I've never really delved into using that. I don't know why you would. You can find my Linktree linked on my Twitter account, which will give you direct access to everything that I've created on the internet. Some of my earliest memories from my childhood are of me playing the original Super Mario Bros. On my older brother's NES, and I must have been 2 or 3 at that point. Needless to say, my love for the medium has only continued to evolve since then, with my interest falling into the critical analysis of games as a whole. It was an easy transition to make, considering my film degree specialized in both art criticism and editing. However, there's 2 elements intrinsically inherent to gaming that no other medium is able to possess: gameplay and immersive storytelling. My taste in games is pretty far spread, but my absolute favorites typically excel in one of these camps. Today, I'm going to be talking about a title that I consider to be the epitome of unadulterated game design: Doom Eternal. Doom isn't even necessarily a franchise that I was previously invested in prior to the 2016 reboots. I played the originals and thought they were okay while recognizing what they did for the medium upon their inception, and I really don't think too highly of Doom 3 overall. Doom 2016 might just be the definition of a sleeper hit, as Bethesda's new marketing strategy of not releasing review copies to outlets left most people in the dark as to the actual quality of the product. And lo and behold, it was actually fantastic. But let's get into why its successor, Doom Eternal, is the epitome of game design. On every conceivable gameplay front, Eternal manages to coalesce a shattering magnitude of mechanics into a perfect amalgamation of cohesive design that uses every element to actively push players into its intended gameplay loop of strategic close-range carnage, adapting to a dynamic landscape of contexts, and resource management. Variables such as platforming, enemy variety, weapons, mods, grenades, blood punches, dashing, chainsawing, and glory kills don't meld together to forge a chaotic and incomprehensible wreckage, but to conduct a carefully orchestrated symphony of death. Eternal holds its rightful throne within the echelon of game design by the virtue of a clearly defined gameplay loop that is subtly conveyed to players via offensive capabilities and resource opportunities. Eternal's greatest and, admittedly, simplest divergence from the contemporary shooter landscape is retaining its boomer shooter roots that its precursor burst over 27 years ago. Eternal pushes players into a gameplay loop of using their speed to attack with pinpoint accuracy, aggressively running towards demons to farm resources, adapting to a wide number of consistently changing variables, and weaving through the bullet hell onslaught of enemy projectiles. Modern shooters, on the other hand, drive users to take a slow and methodical approach, sticking to cover and taking pot shots to garner slow but gradual progress. In terms of pure disparity from the rest of the Doom franchise, Eternal enhances its boomer shooter foundation by sowing a slew of new mechanics that enrich the entrenched roots of the progenitor genre by motivating players to engage in close quarters combat. Glory kills are context-sensitive melee finishers that the player is only able to take advantage of once a sufficient amount of damage has been dealt to an enemy. The immediate benefit of utilizing glory kills is instantly removing a foe from the battlefield. However, the more critical payoff is a cluster of health that is quite literally ripped out of demons. The benefits of glory kills is instantaneously translucent to players, as they foundationally absorb that glory kills are a centerpiece of the gameplay loop that they need to continually engage with in order to both wreak havoc and ensure their own survival. However, there's 2 catches to being able to employ the usage of glory kills. Players only have a limited window of availability, and they need to be in close proximity to enemies. These 2 factors drive towards the same destination. You need to be close to enemies at all times if you have even the faintest desire to successfully execute this core game mechanic. Alongside this, strategic players will adapt to strategies specifically tailored to glory kills, such as opting to farm mobs of weaker foes before tackling more difficult challenges. A new addition to Eternal is the Flame Belch, which, unlike the former, relies on a cooldown rotation instead of specific contexts. The Flame Belch is a short-range flamethrower that not only provides a small amount of damage against foes, but turns any incoming casualties they receive into armor resources for the player. The Flame Belch continues to hammer in that combat needs to take place up close and personal, with the added gameplay loop of utilizing cooldown abilities at every possible opportunity. In the same cooldown vein are the frag and freeze grenades, which add another layer of AoE offensive capabilities that add to your active arsenal of destruction. While frags are a self-explanatory utility, freeze grenades grant multiple coats of strategy, allowing for players to temporarily isolate foes as well as marking them with a damage multiplier. The chainsaw returns in all of its insta-kill glory, but its true purpose and utility stems from its ability to replenish the Slayer's ammunition. The chainsaw naturally regenerates a single fuel pip over time, ensuring that economical players will consistently have a contingency plan of carving mob enemies to shreds in order to reset their murder spree capabilities. While other fuel resources can be hoarded to decimate larger demons, it's imperative that the chainsaw is an emergency plan, not the first line of defense. There's an incredibly migraine-inducing reset era thread in which users assert that Eternal's core gameplay loop and design is outright poorly constructed, with specific criticism levied at the perceived lack of ammo leaving players with nothing to fight with. This desperate need for aspirin branches from the fact that Eternal not only explicitly provides a text tutorial explaining the mechanics of the chainsaw, but it then requires players to utilize the mechanic themselves 3 times in a row to ingrain its purpose. In terms of the gameplay loop, it's solidified that the chainsaw is the tail end of the Ouroboros that feeds the mouth of the next wave of destruction. This is reinforced on a constant basis, and Eternal's comparatively sparse ammo allocation entices players into engaging with this loop, which in turn cements the core tenet of constant close quarters carnage and resource farming. But we'd be remiss to forget about one of the most deadly abilities at the Slayer's disposal, the Blood Punch. The Blood Punch is a devastating melee attack that can rip and tear enemies and their armaments apart with an accompanying AoE pulse that shreds near bystanders. The catch to being able to use the Blood Punch is that it's earned, not handed out on a cooldown basis. Players will need to perform 2 glory kills in order to earn a Blood Punch charge, further encouraging aggressive close-range encounters, while adding another layer of resource management that requires enemies to be carefully managed instead of outright being blasted to pieces. Utilizing your equipment on a constant basis in conjunction with one another is imperative to your success in Eternal. While this aspect has proven a hurdle for some, following through on its successful execution provides players with a euphoric flow unlike anything else on the market. This isn't a Call of Duty or store-brand cover shooter where optimal strategies entail taking pot shots and waiting for your health to regenerate. Eternal mandates that you charge headstrong into the heat of battle and earn every ounce of the massacre. Eternal is simply able to provide an experience that no other game on the market is able to provide. The game is repeatedly providing an impetus to engage in its core design by providing an abundance of rewards for doing so. This is a textbook example of impeccable game design. As with any shooter, the Slayer's arsenal is pivotal to the entirety of the experience. Each weapon succeeds in its own right as an individual instrument with unique strengths, weaknesses, and utility. But when composed with one another and employing the aforementioned motifs of design, they orchestrate a ballad unlike any other. Each weapon serves a particular purpose, with their utility expandable by entirely unique weapon mods that allow for completely divergent playstyles that players will either settle into as their default choice, or adapt to on the fly as required by the ever-changing hellscape. All of these verbs would be left unsatiated if the only source of resistance were generic fodder. Instead, Eternal uses a wide variety of demons to prompt players to improvise to each foe's unique set of challenges. Each enemy within Eternal is entirely unique in their strengths, weaknesses, limitations, and how they force players to adapt to new tactics and strategies. Combining all these variables together alongside the core design tenet creates a near-endless torrent of possibilities for players to tackle. Going over all the nitty-gritty details about the weapons and enemies would take quite a while, so if you want my expanded thoughts, make sure to check out my Doom Eternal write-up that I did over on my Medium. You can find the link to that and the rest of my socials down below in the description. And with that, my time here is done, so I just want to go ahead and thank Storm for giving me the opportunity to come on, and remember, happy gaming.
Hey,
Oh, hey, Jeff.
what's going on, guys?
Oh, talking about Superman.
Oh, cool. I could talk about Superman.
I could talk some more about Superman.
We know.
I'll bet a few people would want to get in on this.
I'm down.
You know it.
That sounds like fun. I'll do it.
Cool, let's do it. We can call the show Men of Steel.
And you can find it at certainpov.com.
Or wherever you get your podcasts.
Yay.
CertainPOV.com.